reveals to you how much they like you. Because if you're being subtle when you pull away, and that means that you're not being obvious. You don't say, hey, I'm pulling away. Hey, I'm not looking at your stories no more. No. If you're subtle and you pull away, and you, for example, you stop looking at his story, right? That's an example. If they like you, they're deeply paying attention to the fact that you're not looking at their stories. They're paying detailed attention to your life. So if you pull away in subtle ways and you don't tell them, but it's something that if they care enough, they'll notice. But if they don't care enough, they won't notice. If they notice that you pulled away, it shows you how much they like you. Pulling away subtly reveals everything. It reveals more about them than it reveals about you. You pulling away in an aggressive way so that everyone can hear reveals
like a boss.
All right, people, welcome to the Robert Greene Book Club. This is just a short snippet of a 1 hour and 6 minute video. You guys can either become YouTube members to get access to the full video or become Patreon supporters. I'll give you guys more information once the video is done. And if you guys want to subscribe to my YouTube membership, you see it on the description. I think you see it next to the like button or something like that. Or become a Patreon supporter where you guys get access to more videos, okay?
She didn't say she was interested in another man, but his mere presence at her house, a look here and there, subtle gestures, made it seem that way.
It's the insinuation.
There is no more powerful way to hint that you are losing your desire. Make your interest in another too obvious, though, and it could backfire. This is not the situation in which you want to seem cruel. Doubt and anxiety are the effects you're after.
Doubt
Doubt
and anxiety, not certainty. Not I don't like you. Not you hooking up with Tyrone in front of him and he's crying. None of that shit, right? Not I'll bang your friend and I'll do it again. No, it's just that it's the subtle things. Maybe he notices that you're always hanging around someone, or maybe you notice that somebody's always commenting on your photos and for some reason you like those photos back a lot, right? But the thing is, the crazy thing is that you want to make it subtle, because if you make it subtle, you know they like you if they notice, you know? Like if you make it subtle, if you make it obvious, you don't know if they like you. But if you make the pulling away or the creating of the doubt subtle, where the only way for him to find out that you might be pulling away is if he's actually really paying attention. That reveals to you that they're actually paying attention, right? For example, when a guy starts following a woman and she's like, and she's like, why did you follow that girl? And he's like, bitch, how you know I followed her? You must be counting my follower numbers every time, right? She's like, yeah, I am. I'm like, oh my God, holy crap. Somebody call the doctor. Somebody call Christ. Like, this is crazy, man. But that's why you subtly do it. So it's not just for the subtlety, because the subtleness makes them feel like it didn't come from you. It reveals to you how much they like you. Because if you're being subtle when you pull away, and that means that you're not being obvious. You don't say, hey, I'm pulling away. Hey, I'm not looking at your stories no more. No. If you're subtle and you pull away, and for example, you stop looking at his story, right? That's an example. If they like you, they're deeply paying attention to the fact that you're not looking at their stories. They're paying detailed attention to your life. So if you pull away in subtle ways and you don't tell them, but it's something that if they care enough, they'll notice. But if they don't care enough, they won't notice. If they notice that you pulled away, it shows you how much they like you. Pulling away subtly reveals everything. It reveals more about them than it reveals about you. You pulling away in an aggressive way so that everyone can hear reveals you more than it reveals him. There's no advantage for you, right? So you pull away, you subtly pull away. You stop. You break it. Maybe you were at a 90% excitement when you talk to that person, and now you're like at a 70%, right? Or maybe you sat really close to them all the time, but now you sit like an extra hand's distance, right? But the point is that the subtlety is what matters. Because if they don't notice that you're pulling away, if they don't notice the subtle pull away, that's not a good sign. They're not paying enough attention. You gotta understand, when you like someone, you pay attention to details. People who are in love are excellent at paying attention to detail, right? But when you take people for granted, that's the last thing that you do. So that's why this is so important. It reveals everything about the person, the subtlety, the subtle pulling away.
Once someone has fallen for you, Any physical absence will create unease. You are literally creating space.
That is so true. That's just true, people.
The Russian seductress Lou Andrea Salome had an intense presence. When a man was with her, he felt her eyes boring into him, and often became entranced with her coquettish ways and spirit. But then, almost invariably, something would come up. She would have to leave town for a while, or would be too busy to see him. It was during her absences that men fell hopelessly in love with her.
Always remember, people fall in love in your absence, never in your presence. Because it's the mind that falls in love. And the mind falls in love when it's away from what it wants. Once it has it, it doesn't fall in love. It only realizes it's in love when it's away.
And vowed to be more aggressive next time they were with her. Your absences at this latter point of the seduction should seem at least somewhat justified.
Mm-hmm.
You are insinuating not a blatant brush off, but a slight doubt.
Yeah, like you gotta work. Your grandma fell from the stairs. Your grandma's choking on a pork chop, and you gotta go to her funeral. That type of shit, right? He'll be mad at the fact that you gotta go to your granny's funeral, right? But at the same time, like he'll understand that you gotta go to the funeral, but at the same time, it still hurts. You know what I'm saying?
Perhaps you could have found some reason to stay. Perhaps you're losing interest. Perhaps there is someone else.
Yeah, right. So it's almost like you're pulling away, and they're like, okay, yeah, this person, has to go to work, but do they really have to go to work? Right? They're like, okay, they're tired today. Okay, they can't see me today because they're tired. But are they really that tired, or is it that they're just losing interest? See how that and so then what that does is that when that happens, their heart literally drops to the ground. Like you feel your heart dropping, your stomach just falls to the ground, and thoughts just start like creeping in, like Attack on Titans, and the walls falling down. Like fucking Titans would just start walking through, eating people, eating your mom right in front of you with a smile, right? You start just thinking the worst. Like, is it Tyrone, right? Is it Becky that bitch, or is it Becky the neighbor, right? But that happens through the subtle pulling away.
In your absence, their appreciation of you will grow. They will forget your faults, forgive your sins.
That's a big one, right? And this is why a lot of narcissists pull away. A lot of narcissists pull away from their victims because they know if they pull away, they'll get forgiveness. Like when they pull away, they know that you might forget their flaws, especially if they act like they're the victim. It's really crazy shit, man.
Return, they will chase after you as you desire. It will be as if you had come back from the dead. Mm-hmm. According to the psychologist Theodor Reich, we learn to love only through rejection. As infants, we are showered with love by our mother. We know nothing else. But when we get a little older, we begin to sense that her love is not unconditional. If we don't behave, if we do not please her, she can withdraw it. The idea that she'll withdraw her affection fills us with anxiety and, at first, with anger. We will show her. We will throw a tantrum. But that never works.
What kind of devils are these kids?
Only way to keep her from rejecting us again is to imitate her, to be as loving, kind, and affectionate as she is. This will bond her to us in the deepest way. The pattern is ingrained in us for the rest of our lives. By experiencing a rejection or a coldness, we learn to court and pursue, to love.
Yeah, pretty much. Men have learned, the reason why men are romantic is because they learned that when they're not romantic, they don't get the poom poom or the woman that they want, right? Romanticism is there because it works. Because it works, It's flattering, it's humbling, and it allows the woman or the person to trust you. Even women think they don't have to be romantic. Motherfucker, I'm special too. Like, my mom thinks I'm cute. Like, it's not just you, right? So it's kind of Like, why do I have to be the one that does all the work? Like, you be romantic to me too. As long as I prove myself to you, as long as I prove that I like you, as long as you don't sense that I'm too arrogant, yeah, 100%. I think that you should do something for me. I think you should buy me something sometimes. I think you should pay my bills from time to time, in fact. Like, all right, calm the fuck down now, Alex. You're going a little bit too far with that shit.
Recreate this primal pattern in your seduction. First, shower your targets with affection. They will not be sure where this is coming from, but it is a delightful feeling and they will never want to lose it. When it does go away, in your strategic step back, they'll have moments of anxiety and anger, perhaps throwing a tantrum, and then the same childlike reaction. The only way to win you back, to have you for sure, will be to reverse the pattern, to imitate you, to be the affectionate giving one.
Yep.
It's the terror of rejection.
So they that's why you show interest. That's why you show you give them stuff. You flatter them, right? You show them what you consider to be flattering, what you consider to be winning people over. So that then when you pull away and they ask themselves, what can I do to get this person back? They'll start thinking about what you did to get them, to flatter them, to seduce them, right? So they'll imitate you, and so you'll start getting into this dance. And again, there's nothing wrong with this as long as you guys are not toxic or vindictive or bitter. Like, it's just that simple. Like, it's all about your intentions.
The table. This pattern will often repeat itself naturally in an affair or relationship. One person goes cold, the other pursues, then goes cold in turn, making the first person the pursuer, and on and on. As a seducer, don't leave this to chance. Make it happen. You are teaching the other person to become a seducer, just as the mother in her own way taught the child to return her love by turning her back. For your own sake, learn to relish this reversal.
So you show people how to love you by you showing them and then pulling away, which is kind of interesting, actually. You set in the example, and then it's their turn to do it. And if they don't, and if you pull away and they don't show you and they don't come after you, then that says a lot, right? Doesn't that say a lot about how they really feel about you? That you're not worthy to be imitated? That the charms that you did to me, like, you're not worthy for me to do to you? Like, what does that say? What type of mindset do you have to feel that entitled, you know? All right, so thank you for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, just to let you guys know, on Patreon, there's a difference between the Patreon membership and the YouTube membership. The YouTube membership is easier to sign up for, but also you get access to the complete Robert Greene Book Club completed videos. On Patreon, I post the videos as I'm recording. So every other day I post a 20-minute video, and then once I'm done with that chapter, I compile it and post it on Patreon, right? So the Patreon gives you early access to the chapters as I'm recording them. YouTube, you get access to the whole thing once it comes out, okay? So that's the difference between YouTube and Patreon. YouTube is just more convenient for you guys to sign up to become members, because if you're also a member, you guys can also comment on live streams and comment, and there will be like a special little tag next to your name so that people know that you're a member and you're not a freeloader. Nothing wrong with the freeloaders, people. I'm offending freeloaders right now. But yeah, man, click on the description down below, join the membership, support the channel.